Hey guys, Aaron Cybertron Zhang here, and today I'm back with another episode of Road to Rank where I climb the online series 12 ladder and provide live commentary as I go. As you may know, I was commentating the Indianapolis Regional Championships this past weekend, so I am finally back, and I'm excited to feature a bunch of the top teams from that tournament. Today, we're featuring one of the teams that actually finished in the top 4 of that event, built and piloted by a player called Austin Acosta, who I've linked down in the description below. This is a slightly different take on Sun and actually features the Groudon plus Calyrex Shadow Rider core, which you may remember was actually one of the first duos I featured in the very beginning of Series 12 because I thought it was a very good kind of anti-Zacian core. So thank you to Austin for the team. Austin mentioned that he got a lot of the inspiration for this team from a trio of players, Adi, Colin, and Raghav, who are all very, very strong VGC players. And so, yeah, thank you to them for initially inspiring Austin. And as always, I'll do a quick breakdown of the team, but if you want to just skip to the battles, check out the timestamps linked in the description below. And if you enjoy, please share support by leaving a like. I'd really appreciate it. So, up until now, the most dominant Sun team, which is Rinya Sun, features 4 of the 6 same Pokemon, actually, in Grim, Groudon, Charizard, and Incin. But it has some notable differences where you have, the Assault Vest on Groudon. You occasionally see the Iron Ball on Grimmsnarl. You'll often see things like Lumberry or Chartyberry on Charizard, and then like Shuka on Incin. So all the items here are a little bit different. And then you also have Gastrodon plus Zacian, right? But instead, this team has Calyrex plus Venusaur. And so the general idea behind this team is that you're going to want to maximize your damage output from your Gigantamax attacks, right? And more specifically, you get the residual damage off as well from Charizard or Venusaur early. You really chip away at your opponent and then put yourself in a position where Calyrex Shadow Rider can just come up and then clean the game ideally with Astro Barrage. And so Calyrex, as Austin described when actually I interviewed him at the tournament, he mentioned that, it's almost always a late game Pokemon. That doesn't necessarily mean, you have to bring it in the late game. In certain matchups, for example, bringing Calyrex early just to pressure with a Will-O-Wisp onto a strong Dynamax threat, for example, or a Zacian can be valuable. But generally, the idea is to, prioritize Charizard or Venusaur in the early game. You're going to max one of those very frequently. And then use Calyrex and Groudon to clean up. And so I think what I really like about this team is that both the Charizard and Venusaur are slightly different from what you may expect. As you can see, the Charizard is actually Assault Vest here, which is not a very common item on Charizard at all. I would normally expect Life Orb, Lumberry, and Chartyberry all before AB. And then Venusaur here is actually Weakness Policy, which I think is really cool. Weakness Policy Venusaur is something we've seen a little bit of throughout Sword and Shield, but right now it feels like by far the most common option on Venusaur is Focus Sash. And I think, going into Indianapolis Regionals, most players were probably prepared for Focus Sash Venu, but not, Weakness Policy as much. And, the thing about Weakness Policy Venu is that when you combine it with Screens from Grimmsnarl, it can survive pretty much any super effective max move that you throw into it. And then as a result, then you can really retaliate back with so much more damage. And so the idea is to, chip away at your opponents early. You get so much value out of the Vine Lash and the, G-Max Wildfire. Ideally, have 3 turns of max with either max Pokemon. And then, clean up with your restricteds. But, of course, Groudon and Calyrex can Dynamax in the right matchup. I think Calyrex maxing is relatively rare. Groudon maxing is a little bit more common, but it's, very matchup dependent. For example, like you could go with Venusaur as regular support and then Groudon as max, but given the items on Charizard and Venu here, it feels like they're just much stronger as max options and a lot weaker as non-Dynamax options. And so, like Grim Venu, Grim Charizard lead, just to get some early disruption and early damage off, and then Groudon Calyrex in the back is, a nice way to often play, but you could definitely go with like Incin into teams that either have more physical damage or into teams that have sleep. That's why you have safety goggles here, so that goggles is really valuable into like Amoonguss and opposing Venusaurs, right? Because opposing Venusaur can be annoying, given that, you can sleep powder Charizard, so that's not super fun, and so that's why the goggles exists here. So, none of the sets here are super crazy. Do note Scary Face rather than Thunder Wave on Grimmsnarl, so that allows you to, hit things that are electric type, for example, like Thundurus. Now, you obviously don't always want to Scary Face a Thundurus, but in the right matchup, you can drop their speed and give them a Defiant boost knowing that you can just KO them. And then the Venusaur here notably does have Weather Ball and doesn't have Protect. And so Weather Ball allows you to obviously change that into a Max Flare if the sun is up, for example, or even a Max Geyser if your opponent has set up the rain, for example. So it's pretty interesting. But yeah, Overall, this is a return to Calyrex plus Groudon. Like, I really liked this duo when I tried it out in the beginning of the season, and I think one of the main appeals is that this is such an anti-Zacian core. Like, everything has an answer into Zacian, whether it be Intimidate from Incineroar, Burn from Calyrex, right? Max Flare from Venusaur, Max Quake from Venusaur, similarly from Charizard, and then Groudon as well. And Zacian is just still the most common restricted Pokemon in the format, and so this team makes it have a little bit more of a tough time. So, yeah. Thanks so much as always for watching. Question of the day, I want to know if you tuned into regionals, and if so, what your favorite match was down in the comment section below, and let's get started. Wow, first game of the day, and we're actually up against Zamazenta Groudon. So, somewhat similar teams here with the Venu, Groudon, Incineroar. Their team indexes very heavily on physical Pokemon generally. Charizard could be interesting here with the Assault Vest, but it is pretty weak into Thundurus and Groudon. If I were my opponent, I would just go with the top 4. Like Thundurus, Groudon, Venu, Zamazenta. So... Incin is interesting because of Goggles. I really don't like to deal with Sleep Powder with the Venusaur. Or, I don't like not having a safe answer against it. We could just go with like Grim Venu, Reflect, Vine Lash early on with Groudon and Calyrex in the back though. I don't feel super confident in Charizard here. Mainly because they could Sleep Powder it with Venusaur, Max Rockfall with Groudon, and Max Lightning with Thundurus, so the Assault Vest isn't that valuable. And I think Incin could be a solid bring here, but I'm not sure who I'd really want to drop for it. Because I really value screens from Grimmsnarl. Incin's main appeal is having the safety goggles and being a switch-in into Sleep Powder from their Venusaur. They could also just go like Thundurus, Zamazenta, Groudon, Incin. I guess like Urshifu, if you're Dark Urshifu, could be compelling into Calyrex here. I don't think it's that strong for them, but they could bring it. So, I mean, I think the ideal goal is to get screens up, survive a potential max airstream. Like, ideally, they activate our weakness policy, and then Venusaur just kind of sweeps through everything. That'd be the best case scenario. So, let's see. Thunder Zamazenta, okay. With this, you're normally going to angle to go for a Howl into a max airstream, probably. I'm down to go for Reflect into Max Quake turn 1. Because if you do Howl and Airstream, I get Reflect up. Ideally, I survive the Airstream, and then turn 2, I can switch Grimmsnarl out into Groudon, and then just go for G-Max Vine Lash. Generally works with me here. I guess it could be non-defiant, like Supportive Thundurus instead, but I feel like it's... With this lead, it's almost always going to be offensive Dynamax Thundurus. So then part of the question I have is, are you Assault Vest or are you Life Orb? Those are the two primary items that you're going to typically see on Thundurus. I guess one other play I didn't talk about was Behemoth Bash, but they actually switch out Thundurus, maybe to try to cover for Sleep Powder into Incin. Okay. Yeah, like Max Airstream plus Behemoth Bash onto Venusaur could have been pretty scary here, but I didn't think they'd really risk that. Because, like, I could switch Grim out into Groudon and then just click Sleep Powder onto your Thundurus, and that's a disaster, right? So, yeah, I don't mind this too much. The only downside is I won't have my weakness policy activated, but that's fine. If they did not bring their Venusaur, we get so much mileage out of G-Max Vine Lash. So, part of what I want to think about here is, like, maybe conserving Vine Lash for a little bit later. And, you know, maximizing the damage output of it in the late game. Okay, they just click Snarl. I mean, Snarl's not great to deal with here because it obviously minimizes my damage output, but that's generally okay. It's mainly figuring out how to deal with Thundurus and Calyrex, or sorry, Thundurus plus Groudon right now, but Will-O-Wisp from our side should be really valuable. And yeah, we do so little damage into Zamazenta there. So, nice Snarl. They're probably going to Parting Shot here. Light Screen's not valuable really at all, so I'm down to switch out into Groudon. Like I said, I don't really want to Vine Lash yet. Gonna go for the Max Flare onto Zamazenta, and then we can go for Vine Lash next turn. And then by switching to Groudon, I can start clicking Swords Dance with that as well. If my opponent did indeed go with Zamazenta, Incin, Thundurus, Groudon, that's all physical Pokemon, right? The one thing to watch out for is a potential Wide Guard from Zamazenta, but we can Vine Lash on my third turn of Gigantamax while Swords Dancing with Groudon, and that's pretty valuable. And then it's like, if Venusaur isn't really taking much damage, it can still pressure with Sleep Powder post Dynamax, which I think is also decently valuable for us here. So when you see Zamazenta, I would generally expect Coaching, Snarl, no Body Press, unfortunately, because it doesn't get it. Howl is a move on it as well. That's pretty cool. Behemoth Bash, obviously. Wide Guard. Okay, they don't click Fake Out, but that makes sense. There's not much to Fake Out here. It's decent damage from Flare. Another Snarl comes out. Ideally, they Flare Blitz here and just activates my Policy, but it's probably just a parting shot into the Venu slot. Yeah. So I'm at -3 right now, but honestly, that's fine because I haven't really taken damage, right? And I do have Reflect up, so your damage output right now is not as scary. So we can, you know, finish things off with the Vine Lash here with Venusaur, and then post Dynamax, like I said, I can, you know, fish for Sleep Powders as well. Venusaur's damage output right now is obviously pretty insignificant, but that's okay. So let's go for a Swords Dance here. And let's go for Vine Lash here, and I think I'm okay just targeting, I mean, it does so little damage to either Pokemon, but I'll target Zamazenta here just to put it on a timer, because Vine Lash plus 2 ticks of Vine Lash should definitely be a knockout onto that, whereas I'm not confident, like, that looks like more than 1/3 of its HP, right? We just need a little bit of chip damage to put it in range of 2 Vine Lashes KOing it. So, like, Thundurus is the clear Dynamax option right now for my opponent. Wouldn't be surprised to see them max right now. Yep. And the other funny thing is if you Airstream, you do activate Policy, but then the Policy is still relatively useless because I'm at -3 special attack on Venu right now. So, they did a nice job playing around the early Dynamax, but I honestly think it's okay because we got screens up, and so their next couple of turns aren't exactly super threatening either. Okay, so there's Vine Lash. It's going to do such little damage, but like I said, I'm hoping that's enough to let 2 ticks of Vine Lash gets the knockout. There's the Coaching, yeah. Coaching is not terribly surprising. Now it should be Airstream, yep. Onto Venu. Okay, we actually survived with 13, which is clutch. So the thing is here, like, because they didn't get the knockout, Venusaur just has a little bit of HP and HP investment, by the way, so that HP investment actually really saves us here. So Policy being activated, not really a big deal, and they're Life Orb, so yeah, it's like a 75% chance to just really have a major advantage. Because if we hit the Sleep Powder here, I actually think my opponent's just in such a terrible position, especially given that we got the Swords Dance up as well. Even if we miss, it might still be okay, because like Groudon can definitely take an attack right now. So I guess the question is, do I go for the Sleep Powder, or would I actually rather just like KO Zamazenta? But I think Sleep Powder is just such a, like, it's a play that gives us so much if it connects that I'd rather just go for it. Even if we miss, it's not the end of the world, I think, because we still get a +2 Rock Slide off onto Thundurus, barring like a Wide Guard from Zamazenta, and like even with the Coaching boost. I guess Thundurus does have a defense boost right now, so we'll do a little bit less, but it's still fine. Another interesting thing in this game is actually clicking Scary Face onto Thundurus. Normally you don't want to do that because it'll just activate Defiant, but in this game it actually makes some sense to like allow Calyrex Shadow Rider to outspeed even after the max Airstream boosts. Oh, they actually go for Max Guard. Okay, that's a really good play. Yeah, I like that a lot because it's like, okay, let's say I target the Zamazenta there. Then you just get Instant to come in for free, and then Instant can click Fake Out. So I think that's a fantastic play by them. So it is going to be Bash onto the Venusaur slot. Yep. At the end of the day, though, I don't mind that, right? Because it does, you basically committed 1 turn of your Dynamax for that. And yeah, if I clicked Weather Ball there, yeah, we KO the Zamazenta. I wouldn't really get much further from there, though. It does such little damage, but Vine Lash will finish it off. Okay. So they have 1 more turn of Dynamax left on Thundurus' end. They are Life Orb with an attack boost. We have Reflect up. Instant is the obvious switch in for my opponent's end right now. If you bring in Instant, I can bring out Calyrex and click Will-O-Wisp onto the Thundurus, which is decently tempting. And then just Rock Slide away with Groudon. We should assume their last one is Groudon, right? But given that we have Citrus and Scary Face with Swords Dance, I think I'm okay going out into Calyrex here. The problem if I go into Grimmsnarl is it's just Fake Out plus Max Airstream bait, right? Yeah, so I'm actually just going to go out into Calyrex here. I guess the scary thing is needing to rely on hitting a Will-O-Wisp right now. But I think Will-O-Wisp into Rock Slide's decently powerful here, especially because we have Sash on Calyrex, and I can just switch Calyrex out into Grim next turn, potentially. I guess the other play to consider is not clicking Rock Slide and clicking Precipice Blades instead, just to KO Incin immediately. But I'm not even sure. Like, they should just probably click Fake Out on a Groudon right now, right? Yeah, actually, I mean, I don't think Rock Slide actually accomplishes anything, so I'm down to Precipice Blades here and Will-O-Wisp into Thundurus. I assume it's going to be Fake Out onto the Groudon slot, but they could just go for a Dark type attack onto Calyrex. If they go for that, though, then the end game is like, yeah, you have knocked out my Calyrex, but then I'll probably KO Incineroar. Thundurus is back to regular form. I still have Vine Lash, and then I have Grim for Scary Face plus Rock Slide combo. Okay, they're going to just Fake Out Groudon, that's fine, and then just Airstream. Yeah, that's okay. This is where, like, you know, Sash is just so helpful, although I guess we didn't actually need it because Reflect allows us to survive. So, let's see if we hit the Will-O-Wisp. If so, like, their damage output into Groudon is really lacking in this end game. Okay, nice. Calyrex hits it. Beautiful. That's exactly why you'd want to run it. And now we flinch. Okay. Decent chance Incineroar is now faster than us, but that's okay. Thundurus' damage output now is pretty insignificant. Dynamax ends. We've still got Grimmsnarl in the back. So I probably want to conserve the Calyrex Shadow Rider because Astral Barrage is really good in the late game into my opponent's Groudon, as well as Psyshock. So I'm at +1 right now. Incin, decent chance it outspeeds us and goes for a parting shot. Calyrex maybe targets... Thundurus maybe targets my Calyrex, but don't really care about that too much right now. Honestly, in this position, I'm down to just click Swords Dance and Protect. Yeah. Because, like... Then, even if you parting shot me, Swords Dance gets me to +2. And it just puts us in such a scary position with Groudon. So... Groudon with Screens and Citrus with Swords Dance isn't like anything new, but I think this team just utilizes it super, super well. So Calyrex is going to Protect. Okay, they just Wild Charge into the Protect, no problem. Probably Parting Shot. Okay, we're still faster. That's a good piece of information. Given that, then I could have just clicked Precipice Blades, but decent amount of Incineroars run like some speed investment these days. In fact, like max speed Incin's also a thing. So, I don't mind covering for it. Like, even with that, it's fine. Although, I guess if we KO'd Incin, then you're forced to bring out Groudon. Then I could switch Calyrex out into Grim, click Rock Slide. That'd be pretty solid. Groudon is my opponent's last one. No surprise there. And Sunlight fades. Not super relevant, but it does mean their Incineroar does less damage to us, which is nice. Okay, everyone takes a little bit of residual right now. And this is why I like staggering Vine Lash for the end game when Dynamax is over, but now there's no more. So we're at +2 attack right now with Groudon. 2 turns of Reflect left. They're angling for Wild Charge. Don't really care about that, honestly. Like, Thundurus is pretty irrelevant right now, but I'm still down to go for the KO onto it this turn and then switch out into Grim. And then one cool thing I can do the next turn is, well, I guess I wouldn't do it the next turn, but the following turn. With Calyrex Shadow Rider, like, I can avoid a potential Shuka Berry on their Incineroar, right, with our ability, which is sweet. So, yeah, the main thing that went well for us in this game was getting that Reflect up early, and my opponent having 4 physical attackers in this matchup. Just with this many turns of Reflect and Light Clay, it's a brutal combination for them to fight through. Okay, they go for Fly, that's a really nice play. Flying to Swords Dance would be a really sick play here. It's good to confirm, though, that our Groudon is actually just faster, so I don't even need to, like, angle for a Scary Face onto their Groudon. And they just Precipice Blades. That's totally fine. Okay. Yeah, it's really not that much damage. I want to Spirit Break Thundurus. I'm obviously just worried about it surviving because of the defense boost. Last turn to Reflect here. Precipice Blades. I mean, my Groudon really should win us this game, right? Precipice Blades, and I'm down to just Spirit Break Thundurus here. I think with the burn, it really should just faint, honestly, especially because they're taking Life Orb damage here, too. Yeah, that goes into the Groudon slot. Life Orb plus burn, yeah, Spirit Break's definitely a KO. Okay, I do miss the Blades there. It's a little unfortunate, but that's fine. Yeah, because we have Citrus here, like, it's honestly okay. And because I'm already faster, it's not the end of the world. It's obviously frustrating, but yeah. Spirit Break here should now finally get the KO onto Thundurus. Beautiful. Burn just is so good into my opponent's team here too, once again, because like they're so physically oriented. So Reflect wears off now. That makes things a little bit scarier. Obviously, they're just going to bring out the Incineroar. You do have a free Fake Out here. I think the best play is to just protect Groudon and then like click Reflect on Grim. Decent chance they click Fake Out onto the Grimmsnarl slot to deny me another Reflect, but that's honestly fine. So we're going to protect here, and we're going to click Reflect. Either way, it's like you either KO my Grimmsnarl, give me a free switch into Calyrex, to which Astral Barrage Precipice Blades just wins the game, and I cancel a potential Citrus on your Groudon as well as a potential Shuka on your Incin, or you click Fake Out into Groudon, doesn't accomplish anything, then I just go for Reflect Precipice Blades. So this endgame basically relies on hitting Precipice Blades, but at the end of the day, like there isn't really too much of a way around that in this matchup, given how my opponent can serve the Groudon for the late game. Like obviously Venusaur would be great to take care of their Groudon, but we don't have it anymore. So, you know, one of the questions is, do I think I brought the best Pokemon? And given that they are Defiant Thundurus, I don't think Incineroar really accomplishes anything for us. I don't want to bring that into the matchup. Yeah, they do click Fake Out onto Grim. Okay, nice play. Swords Dance here would be a very intriguing play from their end, but they just Precipice Blades. Cool. So, yeah, we have a guaranteed Astral Barrage here. I'm just wondering if I can afford to miss one Precipice Blades. I could also go for Will-O-Wisp rather than Astral Barrage with Calyrex. That's actually a pretty interesting option. But the thing is, Astral plus Precipice Blades is just a win here if we hit. And I can afford to miss one of the two Pokemon, in my opinion. So, I'd rather just go for that, honestly. Their best play might be to, like, protect Groudon and try to KO Calyrex with their Incineroar. But if we lose this at the end of the day, it's, you know, because we missed multiple Precipice Blades, and those aren't terrible odds. Like, if we put ourselves in a position where, you know, we need to just hit a couple, then I can't complain too much. Okay, we are going to miss onto Incin, but we hit Groudon. Yeah, so that's fine. Like I said, I think we could afford one miss against one of these two here, right? If we hit the Incin, Groudon, unless you crit, should not KO me. And then I just need to hit, in the end, like 2 of 4, right? And so far we've connected on 1 of 3. But even here, does +1 single target Rock Slide get the KO? That's my question. It's only a 5% trade-off in accuracy. I don't know the damage calc, and I don't want to risk like a crit burn, so I'd rather just click Precipice Blades. Okay, and we hit. A little bit scary there, but in the end, yeah, like the turn 1 Reflect was just so strong, like even with my opponent like getting a boost onto their Thundurus, it just worked out for us in the long run, right? And like, this is what this team does so well. It sets up the residual damage from Vine Lash early on, and that makes it really difficult for your opponent to just stall out the game. And so, yeah, we had a good early Reflect, and Groudon with Swords Dance just increases your late game damage output by so much, while your opponents can still struggle to deal damage to you. And in this endgame, we even missed 2 Precipice Plays, and we were still okay, right? And so that's because there's so much bulk to work with here. So yeah, let's just look for another. Next game here, and we are up against Kyogre Zacian, which I wouldn't say has like a resurgence because it's always been popular, but it really dominated the Indianapolis Regional Championships. Took home first place, 2 other appearances in top 8, and basically 20% of the field was running some kind of Kyogre Zacian team. So they have Shedinja here, which I have to be very wary of. We are AV Charizard here, so I can take attacks from Kyogre a little bit better. I mean, the interesting debate here is who do I want to max, right? Because, like, Charizard's actually pretty interesting here. The other thing is, how does my opponent stop Grimmsnarl? I can see them leading Fake Out plus Zacian. I know Calyrex is normally used for the end game with this team, but, like, leading it could be interesting because it punishes, like, a Fake Out plus Zacian lead. I should probably bring in Venusaur, right? Okay. Yeah, I'm going to go Grim Venu, Groudon plus Calyrex here. I guess the question is, do they feel comfortable bringing Shedinja? Like, this is an awful matchup for Shedinja, honestly. The downside with Grim Venu is that they just lead, like, Zacian plus Fake Out, because then you can just Fake Out Grim and then press your Behemoth Blade onto either slot. So, if I were to counteract that, or if I wanted to counteract Zacian plus Fake Out, then Calyrex, which was initially what I was thinking of, would be the solution, because then I can Will-O-Wisp Zacian immediately. Instant Whimsicott, okay. That's a pleasant surprise, honestly. Yeah, we take those. So obviously they can, like, Tailwind here. Fake Out into Tailwind is a play. Parting Shot, Tailwind, Flare Blitz Venu, maxing Incin. My worst fear is this being Weakness Policy Incin. I Max Quake it, activates Policy, flares me. So I'm down to Reflect here to start things off. See, the thing is, I don't want to max yet because I don't think I actually get that much mileage out of it, and I don't want to get hit by a parting shot for them to go into Zacian. If anything, I'm actually down to click Sleep Powder here because I don't think I have that much to lose other than, like, Instant just Flare Blitzing me. Yeah, they go for Fake Out, okay. And Tailwind, that works for me. Sleep Powder, are you Goggles? No, we just missed. Okay, that's fine. We can go for Reflect now. Like, I'm down for Sleep Powder here. Maybe this time I actually want to max. The thing is, I expect, what, Incin to Parting Shot into Venusaur right now. But I guess you could just Taunt into the Venusaur slot as well. The other thing is, I think we're Dynamaxing the... Yeah, I'm actually willing to go for... Actually, no, I'm going to go for Earth Power here. Reflect Earth Power. Because if I were them, I would Taunt. Oh. Does this just one-shot Venusaur now is my question. Let's see. Okay, that was a really nice play by them. I really wish I could know the item on Incin. Like, if we hit that Sleep Powder on turn 1, I feel like we're in amazing shape, but that's obviously not a move that you really should be reliant on. Okay, so we got Reflect up. We know they have Helping Hand. I have Scary Face. Groudon has to be the max option at this point in the game, I think, for sure. Alright, I'm gonna bring out Calyrex first. The thing is, yeah, if I actually maxed Venu there, I could have Quaked and gotten the KO onto Incin, but then they just bring out Zacian, right? And with Tailwind, that's obviously a disaster. So this lead was actually really effective, but I don't know. If you're not Goggles there and I hit the Sleep Powder, you're in such a weird spot going into the, like, latter turns. Okay, here... I don't mind just going for a Spirit Break on a Whimsicott and a Protect. The idea is to get a Scary Face onto whatever Incin maybe wants to pivot out into, but they might just feel comfortable attacking with it right now. Yeah, I think they might double up on a Calyrex here, which makes sense. Because I can Scary Face Astral Barrage Whimsicott this next turn. The idea is, like, we want to win the Weather War ideally in this game, right? I guess I could also switch Calyrex out into Groudon right now. But if I go for Scary Face into Astral Barrage, that's just a KO. Yeah, I'm down. It's a KO before you can move. You'll bring me down to 1 HP, but then your Tailwind expires. You have to bring out one of Zacian or Groudon, one of Zacian or Kyogre. And then I can just go for a Scary Face on top, whatever comes in. But basically, I can't lose. I ideally need to get my opponent down to their final 2 before I get to my final 2. But the Helping Hand Blitz onto Venu is a really nice play. Oh, it's very speedy instant. Okay. Actually is max speed. Invested to outspeed Calyrex under Tailwind. That's pretty cool. Doesn't make a difference this turn anyway, and it actually just gives me more information to work with, so I'll take it. See, the thing is, with that special attack boost, maybe we can actually KO the Incineroar now this next turn, which would be pretty sweet. Killing Peter's out. There's also the crazy play of actually Dynamaxing Calyrex here. If I think they bring out Zacian and Zacian protects. I think the better bet is to just bring out Kyogre, no? The thing is, with Kyogre, I could Scary Face Astral Barrage. The spread type pressure from Calyrex right now is just so powerful for us. So, let's see what they bring in. Either way, though, I'm trying to think how else I could have played better without, like, focusing on the Sleep Powder Mist. Because there is a chance that they were safety goggles on Instant anyway. Okay, they do bring out Kyogre. So they've, like, with this, right now, we actually have the weather advantage. So if I can KO the Incineroar with an Astral Barrage, that would be great. Don't have Light Screen up. Like, I feel like I should Scary Face here to make sure I outspeed the Kyogre, but then, like, Light Screen is valuable because then I can actually survive an attack. So, you know what? I'm actually down to Light Screen and Astral Barrage here. Because Kyogre can only KO Grim while with Light Screen up if you're, like, I don't know, Dynamax Max Geyser into it. But if you commit Dynamax Max Geyser into it, it means that you did not Dynamax you're not KOing Calyrex. This is why Focus Sash is such an important item on Calyrex Shadow Rider on a team like this. Like, and they switch Instant out to try to conserve Intimidate. Yeah, that makes sense. Kyogre Max. Either way, we get a +1 Astral Barrage onto both, which is pretty powerful. They are going to max on Kyogre, okay. It would be amazing if we somehow survived with the, Well, this is interesting, right? Because it means if you're targeting the Grimmsnarl slot, like, Astral Barrage just does so much into your Zacian. I get Groudon out. I can Dynamax that now. That's fantastic. You could also Hailstorm here. Change the weather. KO me on the way out. I don't know. Like, the decision to Light Screen here over Scary Face is tough. But this just ensures I take so much less damage in the subsequent turns from Kyogre. And they do go for Hailstorm, okay. The thing is, though, this means Grim hangs on, like, with plenty of HP to boot. So we will get Groudon out. I have Scary Face right now, which is cool. They didn't look like Assault Vest Kyogre to me. They have Fast Instant, though, which is a problem. Either way, though, I'm pretty happy about the mileage I got from Calyrex, but yeah, like, they made a really effective use of Whims plus Insect as a lead, so kudos to them. Now you can protect Zacian, switch out into Kyogre, or sorry, switch out into Incin. Man, I don't really love the idea of taking a Behemoth Blade here either, but I do have Reflect up at least. Like, if there's a chance, they also just don't switch out into Instant here, right? Because, like, I'm thinking Scary Face, Dynamax, and Max Quake onto that slot. I think I'm down for that, yeah, because I really don't want to take a Behemoth Blade right now. And Kyogre outspeeding me this turn, I think, is okay. Because I'll get a special defense boost. Yeah, they do switch out, though. Okay. We'll get the knockout onto Insane. We'll get a special defense boost. But obviously, like, this turn, if I just launch Scary Face into Kyogre, Quake into Incin, I feel like we'd be in a very commanding position. But I was thinking there my opponent was maybe willing to make the read that I would try to do this. Or sorry, that I would just go for Scary Face on a Kyogre and Quake. And I was really nervous about taking a Behemoth Blade into, like, a base 150 Max Geyser, right? Or it's base 150 or 140 from Spout? It's 150, right? Either way, Scary Face fails. There's also a chance we're just faster with Groudon here, but the answer is going to be no, we're not. Okay. So they are going to Geyser into the Grim slot, which we should survive. Cool. Yeah, so it's really not the end of the world here because I'll get the knockout onto Incin. The thing is, if I had just, oh, it is Shuka, okay. You probably survive here then, right? Let me see. Okay, they don't. It's just like with Intimidate and Shuka, that's kind of scary, but fortunately it's not enough. So now they can bring out Zacian. To which I think Zacian protecting is the obvious play, but then I could Scary Face Kyogre, Quake Zacian. My other question is, like, is there a chance Max Quake KOs through Protect? I don't think so. Not with the Intimidate. So +1 special defense with Light Screen, so like I can definitely take an attack from Kyogre. Scary Face onto it doesn't accomplish too... Well, it would actually allow me to get a special defense boost before. Basically, like, one of the first questions to ask here is, like, what is Zacian doing this turn? My opponent knows I have Scary Face, so, like, they could expect the double up onto Zacian immediately right now. To which then Zacian could Protect. Then I could respond. Like, Zacian Protect and then targeting Grimmsnarl here makes the most sense to me, in my opinion. I went for Scary Face and Quake onto Zacian. Yeah, they did go for Protect. This might actually be okay, though, depending on whom Kyogre targets right now. Because the thing is, I'll get another special defense boost here, and I'll get damage onto Zacian through Protect. This was just kind of a middle of the grounds play, so I don't know how I feel about that, but... Oh, that was so close to KOing. Okay. If we get the knockout there, I think it's just game over, honestly, barring a crit onto Groudon. But it is +2 special defense with Light Screen up right now. So they're going to go for Geyser. Onto Grim, yeah. Dynamax now ends on their end. I still have a turn of Dynamax, but Zacian's guaranteed a Behemoth Blade onto me. Blade's gonna hurt, but I do have Reflect here. I can obviously Rockfall onto Zacian, which then changes the weather. Yeah, I think I just Rockfall here. I guess last turn I could have gone for Rockfall into Kyogre instead. So then, is there any chance? Well, no, if I Scary Face Rockfall, they change the weather anyway, so that doesn't accomplish much. It's going to be a close one, but I think it favors my opponent because you get a Behemoth Blade and 2 Water-type attacks into me. The thing is, I am at +2 special defense. I'm going to change the weather, and I have Light Screen up. Okay, we take that decently well, but I'm at -1. I do think 2 Precipice Blades KOs Kyogre, though, so... These are some banger matches, that's for sure. I just, yeah. Like, the reason I went for Sleep Powder the way I did in the beginning of this game was because I really didn't want to Max Venu just for them to have Tailwind up and then bring out Zacian and outspeed me anyway. Oh, they actually have... Okay, just click Water Spout. Okay. Well, that activates my Berry. Sand is up, and I outpace you right now. And I don't think an Origin Pulse should KO me. Unless you're Calm Mind Kyogre, I think it's always fine to just Protect here for more Sand Chip damage. Let's just double check how many turns of Light Screen I have left. Yeah, I still have 4. Let's just Protect here. The other interesting debate is like clicking Swords Dance into Precipice Blades. That way I only need to rely on hitting 1 Precipice Blades rather than 2. The fact that they keep clicking Water Spout, though, like, that's why I'd rather click Precipice Blaze right now, because then you're definitely not KOing me. Yeah, let's just go for it. I don't want a single target Water Spout against me here. We do hit this one. Okay, fantastic. No, that's a crit? Oh, not even. So, why click Water Spout like that? Like, do you really not have Ice Beam or Origin Pulse? If so, that's really surprising. Either way, though, nice. We managed to pull off the comeback here despite what was a relatively scary early game. I think the main thing here was that, like, Calyrex was just so strong, right? After the special attack boost, my opponent felt forced to switch out the Incineroar because they thought, you know, hey, if I don't switch out here, you're just going to get a KO. And then we just, you know, snowball so quickly. So really curious about the Kyogre's attacks there. You would think you'd want to Origin Pulse or Ice Beam there instead because, you know, I have the speed advantage with Groudon at that point. So that's why I didn't think it was worth clicking Sword Stance. Rather, would just get guaranteed damage there. But, yeah. Let's see, if Zacian had just attacked the turn I clicked Scary Face, it still would have been fine because I would have just KO'd it. It's still, yeah, 1v1 against Kyogre. The main really important thing in this game was, like, winning the Weather War, because if we... we won the Weather War in the sense that, like, Groudon was protected for a turn, essentially, right? But this was a really interesting game where, like, it looked so bad after, you know, Flare Blitz just KO'd Venusaur. But we managed to get Calyrex out into a position where we got a special attack boost, and that single special attack boost plus Focus Sash really allowed us to mount a comeback there. So, yeah, really interesting. These games were a little bit longer today, so I think we're only going to have 2 in this episode, but I hope you can see how this was able to, you know, get top 4 at the most recent regionals over in Salt Lake City. So thank you so much, as always, for watching, and if you enjoyed, please show support by leaving a like. Don't forget to answer the question of the day, and I'll see you all soon. All right, peace.